welcome to With Bowl and Spoon.
Hi, thanks for having me. My name is Chris Balouris, Salonika Imports. We have a interesting food journey that I've gone through. We're currently in the import, wholesale, and distribution. We have our retail store in front of our warehouse. And we also opened a restaurant, a Greek restaurant, surprise, in Bellevue, which is about 15 minutes away from Lawrenceville. But, just going back to the beginning of my food journey, we're a Greek-based business. Both my parents were originally from Greece. My dad came over when he was 27. My mother came over when she was 11. And like a lot of immigrants and entrepreneurs during the 50s, they got into different types of business, but Greeks especially were in a couple. You either were a bridge painter, you were a candy business, or you were in the food business, restaurant. So my dad and uncles, when they came over, opened up a restaurant in Bellevue, and they had that restaurant for 45 years. And of the three families, we had 14 cousins, and pretty much every cousin, like a lot of family businesses during that time, were required to work there. So, which I actually didn't mind as a kid. So all the way from like 8 years old, washing dishes, working the cash register, doing various things around the restaurant, and then even through college, we all worked there. So learned the food business. All 14 of my cousins or 13 of my cousins all said we'll never get in the food business. So myself and a couple of folks ended up coming full circle and, going into the food business. But, after college, I was in sales for like 15 years, corporate America. Lived in Connecticut for about 10 years. And then as my wife and I started our family, we came back to Pittsburgh, which a lot of folks obviously come back, and it's a great
story.
Yeah, for sure. And we live in Wexford, and I said to myself, I had that entrepreneurial flair. Always wanted to get into have my own business. I just didn't know what it looked like. So after a couple years of really thinking hard about that, this opportunity at Salonika Imports came along through word of mouth. And at first I said, I'm not sure if that's a good fit for me. I really don't want to get into the food business. The more I learned about the opportunity, I thought that it's something that would be good for myself, my family, and something that we could build on and grow on. And I knew that here, based in Lower Lawrenceville, it was a great location to try and start that. So, bought the business in 2006 off of a gentleman. His name was Taki. He had started the business in 1987, so he was around for 15 years or so. And like anyone who tries to start a business, they know it's really, really difficult to develop that book of business. And it's not that I didn't want to do that, but I felt that he had established a good base for me to build on. So we do the import wholesale was something new to me. So he stayed on for about 6 months and helped me learn the business, that part of it. I knew sales, I knew general business organization. But in terms of basically what I bought was his contacts in Greece, Turkey, and some other countries that we import from. So,
he helped you get networked into all of that.
For sure, yeah, and that's what I bought. And I bought his customer base, obviously here locally within. Our business is Mid-Atlantic, so tri-state area, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We have some outliers, like a couple customers in Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia, but the bulk of it is in the tri-state area. In addition to the import wholesale distribution, we decided to build our retail market that's in front of our warehouse here in Lower Lawrenceville. My initial thoughts when I bought the business, it was, man, I'm not sure if I want to be in the retail business. And, I misjudged that, badly, because it's our test kitchen for our wholesale customers. I have folks from big buyers from, big food service companies that come in and say, hey, I didn't know you had that, or can I taste this? And it's immediate. We can, show the full assortment. With the evolution of where Lawrenceville is and the Strip District, and we're like a common meeting point. Everything's getting pushed towards us here in Lower Lawrenceville, which was once a industrial commercial area. I remember when I first bought the business, my wife, if I stayed late, say it was 6 or 7 o'clock, she's like, are you okay? Someone's gonna mug you. It was really like ghost town. After 4 o'clock, ghost town. But it's changed because now there's people walking their dogs, there's people running, and folks that have bought homes in Upper Lawrenceville or further up on Butler Street. So
what is this, 34th?
35th, Smallman and
35th
35th.
and Smallman. So
Correct,
it's
yep.
tucked back here. And I was saying earlier when I first got here that I rode my bike up this way all the time and saw the signs, but didn't realize there was the retail.
Well, and that's a while back we decided to paint the building blue. Obviously, because Greece is known for blue colors, blue ocean, blue skies, but also just to stick out so people say,
It definitely stands out.
We didn't really tell a good story before, and so I'm glad that we did that. So yeah, in terms of, that's kind of who we are, and then back right before COVID started, we decided to open. A year prior to that, we said, hey, we're going to open a Greek restaurant. We felt that authentic Greek food with traditional Greek dishes was underutilized or underdeveloped here in Pittsburgh. A lot of gyro shops, a lot of folks that were doing, really standard, basic menus that we thought we could, build on. There's a lot of, I think in the metro Pittsburgh area, there's 14 Greek churches, and every one of them have an annual Greek food festival, and they do a great job. But then when those are done, folks don't have an avenue to buy those traditional dishes. So we supply a lot of the Greek churches in their food festivals, and we supply a lot of anything Greek in Pittsburgh. We think we're a good source for them. So that's the impetus on why we decided to open the restaurant. It's called EVIA Greek. EVIA is named after the island in Greece that my dad and uncles came from, who, when they came in the late 50s, they opened a restaurant. It was called the Bellevue Restaurant in Bellevue, where our current restaurant, EVIA Greek, is right down the street from the original location. So we decided to open it there in Bellevue, just obviously as a play to our roots and our history, and just building on what my dad and uncles had started, but also they never really had any Greek food. They had leg of lamb or rice pudding, but things that weren't hardcore Greek cuisine items.
What did they serve?
It was just traditional, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like
a diner,
like
kind
a diner,
of thing.
Diner family style restaurant. They had home cooked meals. I mean, they basically cooked, the majority of the food in house, whether it was roast turkey or corned beef or things that were familiar to a lot of folks that had more time in the United States than my dad and uncle. So
that's interesting. I think a lot of immigrants kind of do that, and they sort of cater to the people that are here. And it did provide a bunch of Greek youth place to learn a job and learn skills and get some money. And you guys all got through, I'm guessing, middle school, high school with that job at that restaurant.
Absolutely.
But there was not the authentic traditional food that your family, and you're kind of going back to that. That's great.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, since I
love that.
Since we're in the Greek import food business, we thought that we would share something that was pretty as spot on and as 100% Greek. I mean, all the items at our restaurant now at EVIA is from the pasta to the olive oil to, aside from the containers that we put our food in, pretty much I think 90% of the items are imported from Greece. So we try to be as authentic as possible and try to stay as true to authentic Greek recipes as possible. So and it's we've done very well by doing that. I mean, we have a little niche in the market. It's a smaller restaurant. I think only seats like 13 folks, but we do a ton of takeout. And so it's what I wanted it to be, traditional, like a Greek taverna, quick and easy, it's BYOB, so if someone wants to bring a bottle of wine, they can do that. And, Bellevue's gone a nice evolution on where it used to be, and like in the 80s or 90s, early 2000s, kind of had a little down spell, a lot of businesses left, but now it's definitely on the upswing, and it's great that it's so close to the city of Pittsburgh, 15 minutes away, not even, and nice little walking district. So what I've found is a lot of younger people are moving there, folks that I know from, my church, younger people, and are looking for somewhere affordable to live, but, nice, has bigger homes, and some of them may need a little TLC. So we kind of fit into that little niche of, being able to get, a good quality meal, good price, in a nice little town.
So you opened during pandemic.
Mm-hmm. We technically opened October of 2020. We were right about to open in March, and then all the rumblings, January, February, March, this big thing's coming in. We're like, okay, maybe we should hold off. And then we held off for 6 months, and I said, we can't hold. Either I already locked into the lease, so I said, we have to open. If we don't, then, what's the point? We got some sunk costs. So for the first year, from October 2020 to maybe like till June, July of the following year, we were takeout only. So for a good 6 months, takeout only, and then we just let it go full bore, and it worked out really well. So we're happy with. But yeah, opening a restaurant during a time, there's a lot of stories you hear of folks that have done that, and surprisingly, we didn't have any hiccups, and actually helped us that we were takeout only for the first 6 months. Prior to that, most people really weren't focusing on unless you were a pizza place or something like that. But our type of cuisine, I was so worried that the takeout concept would not bode well for us, but it was the opposite. It helped us understand how to manage that type of business, and then as we opened up our dining room, it was like gravy. It was like
so that wasn't the plan in the beginning, but
no.
You pivoted. That's
correct.
Brilliant.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. Yep.
That's great.
A lot of folks have different stories, no matter what type of business you were in. So it's like anything, you try to evolve and you try to adapt, and it worked out.
That was a wild time.
Yeah, for sure.
Wild time we lived through.
Yeah, it seems like forever ago.
Yeah. Are the old customers of the owners still? Are they still your customers?
For sure. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
Definitely. 100%. We had a lot of, ethnic Greek folks that came from Greece that would shop here. Now their kids and grandkids are here. And so we built on that for sure. But it was really like a small segment of who we were selling to. But since I've bought the business, we've expanded to, I'd say probably 50% of the business, if not more, are, folks are not Greek, not ethnic, not tied to their ethnic roots, and are just foodies that are curious about food, and now, like I said, talking about Lawrenceville and the Strip, and they found out about us. They want great Greek yogurt, fed olives. I mean, we sell olives at $4.99 a pound, where we're a really good value. We import them direct, great quality. But if you go to some of the other big supermarkets, they're selling $9.99 to $13.99 a pound. So people recognize that we have great quality products, good prices. I'd like to think we give them great customer service, and we can educate them about a lot of these things, where if you go to a big box supermarket or store, that they're not going to get that experience. So that's kind of what we offer. When we offer, olive oil, you can taste before you buy. You can bring in your own bottle, fill up. Or if you want a prepackaged olive oil, that we have sourced from, Greece, Turkey, or Spain, or some Middle Eastern countries, we can do that too.
You mentioned the olive oil at the hometown homegrown event, which is where we met, and you were talking about how it's like the source of the olives and the oil, and you can sort of track the path of it to your bottles.
For sure.
And that's one of the biggest, bastardized products on the planet. Yeah. There's so much crap out there, so I'm really glad to know that there's an absolute line right here.
Definitely. Our branded olive oil, it's called Salonika, obviously. We, from the same gentleman it's in the southern tip of the Peloponnese, the mainland. It's from an area called Laconia. It's known to have excellent olive oil. We've been importing from the same guy that the previous owner bought from. It was one of his personal friends for over 30 years. Our olive oil and our Kalamata olives and some of our green olives come from him. And we trust him. A guy named Maki, who does a great job. He's a small family-owned. He buys from a cooperative, and he's the guy who organizes it. So we know it comes from the same region, the same soil, the same atmosphere that produces a similar crop. And I always like to equate it, like you might see an olive oil from a big box store. On the back of it, it says product of 5 or 6 different countries. For me, not that it's bad, but I don't think it's the best possible product. I'm not trying to badmouth the competition, but it's kind of, I equate it to the wine industry. If you got a bottle of wine and it said product of 5 different countries on the back, you probably wouldn't buy it. You probably like, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And in my opinion, olive oil is no different. It actually is, I think, more important to buy from a single source and someone that you can trust. So, we get ours lab tested. We know the acidity. We know that it's great quality olive oil. And we have a trusted brand, that a lot of folks in Pittsburgh, a lot of the Greeks, like if I'm out of my olive oil, they will not buy anything else. Like, I'll come back when you get it back in. I'm like, okay. So
it's worth it. I mean, the nutritional components of olive oil are amazing. The polyphenols that are just so good for you. I mean, you can drink olive oil. It's
I take a little shot every day.
Yeah. Exactly.
So hopefully it'll put a couple extra months or years on my life. We'll see.
So, Chris, where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Pittsburgh. Grew up in Bellevue.
In
Surprise,
Bellevue,
surprise.
okay.
Yeah, where my dad and uncles had the restaurant. We grew up in Bellevue. Went after I graduated high school. Went to Carnegie Mellon. Once I graduated, worked in Pittsburgh.
What'd you study at CMU?
Business. It was
Okay.
called industrial management back in the day. So I was in Pittsburgh until I was 25, and then I got a job. I moved out to Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut. I worked there for about 10 years. Halfway through, got married. We had our first child, Katerina. And then, when she was about 1 or 2, we decided to move back to Pittsburgh. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you have other kids now?
I do.
Okay.
I have my son, Themistokles, really old school Greek name, named after my father. He is a sophomore at Penn State, and my youngest daughter, Evangelia, she's a junior at North Allegheny High School.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do you continue the tradition of making all of your 13 cousins' kids come and work at your restaurant and your shop?
I would say of those, they probably had like 4 of their kids work here down at Salonika in the store, work in the register or work in the warehouse, and all my kids have worked here. And then a lot of my siblings, my nieces and nephews, have definitely come to work too. So they, I'd like to think they like to work with their uncle Theo Chris, but we'll see.
Well, how was your experience working with your family when you were a kid?
It was great. I mean, out of all the cousins, there's a couple other cousins that worked there a lot, but I worked there from I was really young and all the way through parts of college. Sometimes you thought you could have a better job and make more money somewhere else, but you ended up invariably coming back because it was, I liked working at the restaurant.
Strangers telling you what to do?
Yeah, my
crazy.
uncles were great. They were. It's like any family business. It's sometimes not easy, but I enjoyed it. My mom was about 11. She came with her family from the Peloponnese area. The town was called Yithion. And then they settled in Brookline, and then eventually her parents moved to Avalon. So they were close to where, my dad had settled also. My dad came over when he was 27, I think. Yeah, so he was the last of the 3 brothers. He came from a family of 6. The 3 brothers came to the United States. The 3 sisters stayed back on the island of EVIA. Which that happened a lot during, after World War II. A lot of the, everyone was poor and no one had any money, so they decided, hey, we're going to find a better way of life, and it was, the United States for us. A lot of Greeks either went to the United States or Australia, or a lot went to England also. We went to a town of Bellevue where I think there was 2 other Greek families, so we were not very, it wasn't very common to be, an ethnic person, so it was interesting. You learned to develop thick skin, and you learn to develop, some hard work and work ethic that, help you push it forward. So. It's a lot of parallels to, not to get into politics, but it's a lot of parallels to what's going on in the United States today. There's a lot of folks that, I look back on my dad and my uncle's experience, and, they did it the right way, and they worked hard, and they created a better life, and, they definitely instituted in us hard work ethic, school first. My dad didn't know anything about sports, and all my siblings and I, we played all sports, and my dad, he would come to sporting events, knew nothing about it. We would always think it was a waste of time. It was like, you should be at school. As long as you're getting good grades, you can play sports. If you don't get good grades, you can't, So his focus was definitely on, bettering your life. So, and that was common for a lot of folks that during, at least the folks that I knew in a similar situation at that time. So, I look at my situation, how my dad decided that and my mom decided it made sense to go to a different country and better themselves, even though they might not know the language or the history or the, the way of life. But you assimilate, and you assimilate, but you also say, hey, I'm going to carve out what's important to me. And for me, what's important to me, was very important, is, obviously family, but education, and then also our background and our culture. So obviously I'm in the Greek business today, so I feel very strongly about that. All 3 of our kids know how to speak Greek, some better than others, but they have appreciation for the culture, the language, the food. We travel to Greece every year, a little business and pleasure. We visit our family on the island of EVIA. My in-laws live on the island of Crete, so we spend a significant amount of time there. And then my kids, every year I say, we can, where do you want to go to vacation? We can go anywhere. We can go to the United States, we go wherever, and they're we always go back to Greece. So because they have such an attachment to the culture. So I'm proud of that, and I'm glad that they are able to experience that.
So you married a Greek woman.
I did. Her name is Chrysoula. It's the female name, the female version of Chris in Greek. So yeah.
Did you meet her here, or did you meet her there?
No, I was living in Connecticut, and she was in Harrisburg at the time. And one of our close friends that we knew mutually, that we didn't know each other before then, introduced us, and it turned out really well.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's a really good story. Yeah, the gentleman that introduced us was, I was not expecting him to make that introduction, and it worked out well. So, yeah.
Learning about your roots.
Yeah, she knows it very well.
She's lovely.
Thank you.
She seems like she really likes working here.
She does.
Yeah.
She's finishing up her last year of college here in Pittsburgh. She went to Penn State
we're talking about your daughter.
Yes.
For listeners who didn't hear the giggle.
And she's worked here all through middle school, high school, parts of college. So sure, she's does a good job.
That's awesome. It's funny when, being in this location and saying Lawrenceville, because it's like Lawrenceville Strip District. It's sort of this like middle zone that I don't really feel like I'm in Lawrenceville or the Strip District. It's its own little
We used to
space.
say, when people would ask, we used to say Strip District, and then I got to the point, it's like, we're not Strip District, it's Lower Lawrenceville, because people will identify it more. Because if you say Strip, they're going to immediately go all the way down to 18th and 17th.
No, it's 35th.
Yeah. So we think our, 20 years ago, if you asked me if this location was conducive to a retail business, that was part of my mentality. It's like, I don't think, who's going to come down here? It's industrial, even though we have free parking, you don't have to, fight all the traffic. But, my mentality has changed big time since, I see where, the evolution in this area.
You mentioned earlier, before we went on recording, about the Berg's Bites. Mm-hmm. And how they do the tours. Why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. That's Sylvia and her group, Berg Bits and Bites. They do a great job. They have multiple tours. Not in Lawrenceville, they do Strip District, Lawrenceville. I want to say they do it in, there's 3 or 4 other locations. But we're the first stop on, of I think one of 5 stops on every Saturday. And it can be, like we were discussing, maybe 10 to 20 people. And we just give them a little sampling, a little plate of meze in Greek. It's kind of like the Greek version of Spanish tapas. We'll give them some Greek feta, imported sheep smoked feta. We'll give them olives, a little tasting of Greek yogurt that is much different than what you buy in the supermarkets. A little Greek honey on top. We have a Bulgarian roasted red pepper spread called lutenitsa that's excellent. We serve that. So in addition, we'll vary some things, but those seem to be the staples. And at first I was thinking, okay, is this going to be worthwhile for my business? And it absolutely is, because you get folks that are not from the area. A lot of folks are out of town, which I'm surprised that a lot of people come to Pittsburgh and they sign up for the food tour, which, I'd say probably 50% of the people that come on those tours aren't even from Pittsburgh. They might be coming in for a Steeler game, a Pirate game, and they say, hey, what are we going to fill the time, in other ways? So I thought that's pretty cool, and Sylvia had a great idea in terms of leveraging that.
I'm guilty of booking a food tour in other cities, for sure.
Definitely. No,
the best was the taco tour in Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, nice. That's where my wife and I we went on our honeymoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, loved it. Kind of, talking about my journey, I grew up in Bellevue, very blue-collar Pittsburgh town. When I was younger, we went when we were 3, which I didn't remember, but I never went back to Greece until I graduated from high school. Family business, restaurant, trying to save money, putting kids through college. It just wasn't, our vacations were SeaWorld and Cedar Point in Ohio, things like that. So when I first went between my senior year and my freshman year in college, senior year in high school, we stayed the whole summer. We stayed in my dad's hometown and really was immersed. And this is pre-internet days, 1987. And I was like, oh my God, all these stories my dad and my mom would tell me about Greece, they're true, even though you don't, as a kid, they don't know what they're talking about. So I kind of that's where I fell in love with the whole Greece experience. And it kind of connected all the dots to all the things that I was told you should be, make sure you stick to your culture, your heritage and all that. So I have continued to go back, especially since I've been married, because my in-laws have a house in Greece. We go back every year, but that's really where I would say my food journey started, is through my parents, through my culture, through my upbringing. But really that summer, as I graduated high school and went to college, that's for me was like the kicking off point of really, like, wow, those flavors should taste like that. The freshness of product, you see the fishermen catching it and you're going to eat it, that afternoon or that evening for your dinner. Hey, everyone has a garden in Greece. Everyone grows their own vegetables. Those kind of, we're here, everything over the last 20 years, farm to table. But, folks in Europe have been living that their whole lives. We're not as, they're not as commercialized. You were talking about being eco-friendly. Like, I was surprised in Greece, I was telling someone that we use paper towels in the United States, and I'm like, paper towels? We don't use paper towels in Greece. We use whatever
cloth
regular.
Napkins,
yeah, exactly. So we're a little spoiled here in the United States, which is not a bad thing, but within reason. So that for me over the last, since high school to now, that's kind of the reason why I, evolved decided to make the leap into the food business, because of all those experiences growing up with my family, my parents, my siblings, travels to Greece, and just sometimes in life, just things start to click. At age 36, I bought this business, so it's it was a little bit of a risk, probably a little bit too late in life. Most people don't take those kind of risks that when you have, 2 or 3 kids. But for me, it made sense. And I've had the confidence that it would work out just because of all those, the background.
Yeah, and you believe in the culture and all of that. So
Exactly.
Talk more about when you went over there on your first trip, and what did you actually see? What were these points that clicked in your head?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, things like how blue the sky was, how blue the ocean was. I mean, you're smelling it, you're breathing it, you're feeling it. I mean,
the light is just so different.
Yeah. I mean, Greece, it's always sunny. Pittsburgh, we don't have as many sunny days as we would like. But the build up from my parents telling me, my older sister had been there a couple more times on what to expect, sure. But the food, I mean, it's things as simple as a gyro, it's street food in Greece. Every street corner, you get a great quality meal, it's not fast food, it's fast casual or whatever it is, but just things like that, having a spanakopita, spinach and cheese, phyllo pie, and having a local bakery or a local butcher where you could walk to in each little town in the village. My dad's from a seaside village, but walking to every morning, going to the bakery, just get a loaf of bread, getting a piece of feta and a tomato, and that was your meal. For me, simplicity for me is a great thing. And a lot of people with food, everyone, a lot of Americans, I think they think that great meals are foam on a plate and high gastronomy, and it doesn't need to be that. It's simple, fresh, local ingredients, and who's making it, and that they care about their food. For me, that is a great meal. So little things like that were just a build up for me for my journey on what I like to eat. A lot of my friends don't want to go out to eat with me because they're all meat and potatoes, steak guys, and which is great. It's not a problem, but I can make a great steak at home. I mean, I shouldn't say I can. I help, but my wife is the genius behind a lot of meals that we prepared. I'm good at buying and sourcing, but I always try to go local, small family-owned and operated restaurants. I like unique stuff that I would have to think twice before I made it at home, or we would make it at home. So for me, that's the beauty of Pittsburgh right now. It's booming with those kind of options, especially here. I can walk Fridays after work. My wife and I, and our families here, we'll just walk up to Lawrenceville, and there's 10 restaurants that no problem. We don't have to go anywhere else in Pittsburgh because they're right here or into the Strip District. So I didn't know that before I bought this business, but I'm thrilled that it's here and that I can experience it and enjoy it. So I hope that slowly but surely it's extrapolating out to the suburbs, not as much as I would like, but that's the vibe that I like when I go out to eat. So all these things together have connected the dots for me in terms of where I'm at. My mom will laugh because when I was younger, I was a horrible eater. I mean, there was 3 or 4 food items that I would eat, and after that, My siblings would be done eating, and I'm sitting there, I'm not eating it. And my mom was like, you're sitting at that table for 45 minutes until you eat your food. And I was pretty difficult with food, but now I'm the opposite. I'm as adventurous. I mean, we'll go to Greece, and my mother-in-law will make snails and like tomatoes, zucchini, potato mixture. I've eaten intestines, cooked the right way, obviously, but I'm very adventurous.
The right way.
Clean, yes.
And then cooked the right
yes,
way.
Clean, right, yes, exactly. My wife's very adventurous too, so her openness to food too has definitely expanded my horizon. So it's just, as we all get older in life, you build on certain experiences, and food's a big part of that for me. My food, my culture, my faith, family, those are the things. Those are like the 4 cornerstones of how I wake up every day.
That's great.
So
I just assumed, talking about your childhood, you had a mom who cooked Greek food and you ate Greek food, and I just assumed it was an easy... talk more about that. So it was a
combination. Yes, we did all those things.
Yeah.
And we were my parents, especially my mom, was very involved in our church and our, food festival. She was very, a very big part of, there's a women's organization there, and they did a lot of the cooking for the Greek food festival. So those kind of things. My grandparents on my mother's side lived in Pittsburgh. My grandparents on my father's side never came to, they lived in Greece. So we really didn't spend a lot of time with them.
I'm curious, did your dad's sisters ever come over?
To visit, yeah, but not to live.
They never moved here?
Mm-hmm. No.
Okay.
All my mother's siblings came to the United States. So we had a mixed, of a lot of decent amount of relatives. Now we have a huge family, but back then not so big. But, my mom cooked for the church, but also being part of a restaurant, my dad, we'd bring food home from the restaurant too, or we would go eat at the restaurant. So,
but that was all Americanized food.
Correct. Yep. Great quality food, leg of lamb or ham or roast turkey or soups they would make. So it was great food.
Was it sort of Greekified American?
No.
Okay.
No, they
like the leg of lamb, he didn't put spices in there that were particularly Greek. No,
I shouldn't say that. They would do Greek lemon potatoes along with that too. But there was that was probably the extent of it too. We didn't have spanakopita or pastizo or
they weren't ready for it.
No, think about it, in the 50s and 60s for sure not. Even the 70s, I had the 80s starting, but they closed the restaurant by the early 90s. So anyway, they sold it. So yeah, there are. The Greek food, and was almost, I remember on my grandmother on my mother's side who lived here, she was a great cook, great baker. You name it, she would make all the traditional Greek dishes. And I remember going over there and I do not want that. And some of those dishes that I would refuse to eat, I love now. So,
like what?
Pastizo, moussaka, spanakopita I always liked. But pastries. I remember my dining room was always full of pastries that my grandmother would make, and my mom, because she didn't have enough room. She would feed a ton of people. And my grandfather was a big eater, big guy, and we would always have them in our dining room. Always, and I guess when you're a kid, if there's too much of something, you kind of get turned off by it. Maybe that's my story. I don't know.
You just took it for granted.
Exactly. I was just a stubborn kid.
So you just said your mom fed a bunch of people. What did that look like?
Her and a group of ladies for our, they had a Wednesday lunch. So they always, on the north, when our church used to be on, the Greek Orthodox Church was on the north side, they would have a lunch open to the public, and her and 4 women would do all the cooking and serving and cleaning, and it was like a philanthropic thing to, give whatever they made to give back to the church. And then for the Greek food festivals on the north side, as long as I can remember as a kid, my mom and that same group of ladies would make all the spanakopita, the tiropita, pastizo. I remember my grandmother she was like the loukoumades lady, the Greek honey balls that were fried and with honey on top. She would do a lot of the pastries. So we were very involved with the church at an early age, and continue to be. So when our church moved from the north side to the North Hills, right by Passivant Hospital. So we have a huge Greek festival there, and my family, all our cousins and relatives are all super involved in the church, and
So it was through the church. So I imagine that your mom had all these pastries and this food laying around in your dining room, and that neighbors would come over and just
Yeah,
eat.
definitely. Or they were intended for a holiday, or
Okay.
preparing for whatever. But yeah, we're my friends like to come over for sure.
I bet.
To
And
eat.
you were allowed to just go and
Yep.
take food that
For
was
sure.
laying around. That's great.
Food was a big part of it, for sure.
So what was it that you wouldn't eat as a child? You said
Probably
you were stuck there
75%.
at the table.
I would eat spanakopita. That was one. There was two Greek foods that I like, and I still love today. Spanakopita. My mother made great spanakopita, and something called yovralakia. They were like big meatballs with rice, and it was kind of like in a soup with, like, in Greek they call it avougolemono. It's an egg lemon, like, frothy sauce that goes in it. So it's a comfort food, but I could eat it every day. And like when my wife makes it, I'm like, keep coming. My kids will eat like 3 of them, and I'm like, I'll take 20. So I don't know. I was just a stubborn kid. So I would. Those were the 2 Greek meals that I would eat. Never ate stuffed grape leaves. Like, I would turn my nose up to this stuff like it. But now I love them. Yeah, it wasn't much. Probably ate a lot of pasta, pizza. But that was it.
My big protest meal where I sat at the table for I don't know how long, but I remember I was like 6. It was fish sticks. I hated fish sticks. And I was going to cheerleader practice, and my mom was like, you can't go to cheerleader unless you eat your fish sticks. And I was like, I'm not going then. This is where I am now.
I was equally as stubborn. There were times that my mom would look away. I'd get my napkin, put my food in my napkin. I'm done. And my brothers and sisters would rat me out, like, no, he's not done. So another heaping of whatever it was would go on my plate.
Oh, man. At least you didn't have to eat the pre-chewed.
Yeah.
That could have been a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we haven't covered that I haven't asked you about that you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, I think
for posterity's sake or whatever.
No, I mean, we covered the whole journey. I mean, I think I closed the circle in terms of where I started and where I came to, and I'm appreciative that I can share my story with you, and I like to. That's why I enjoy this business for folks like yourself, folks like going to that food show that we were at, and other food shows that I've been. We do a lot of with the Berg Bits and Bite tour, folks that are just curious. And I think that's the beauty of life. I mean, I'm like you, and I tell people, folks come in all the time, say, hey, I want to go to Greece. What should I do? And I say the first thing, hey, food is a big part of the Greek culture. Go on a food tour. There's so many walking tours in Athens or whatever city you're at. Try that, explore, try something different. Like my kids, when they were younger, they never ate off of a children's menu, never had a kid's menu. I was like, you're not getting chicken tenders. We're not eating that. You're going to order off the adult menu. And they would try to order. That's, pretty traditional stuff. Like, no, you're not going to. And we got into arguments, but I think they appreciate it now is that I'm basing my own experience not being a good eater as a kid and not being adventurous, that, food is a good pathway to any culture, any city, like in Greece, if you're a tourist and you go by someone's home, invariably they're going to have food ready for you. It could be a last second saying, hey, it just showed up, or relatives say, hey, how you doing? Okay, here, have a spanakopita, or there's something ready, because it's a way of welcoming someone into your life and into your home. So food tours are great. We do a lot of pre-COVID, we did a lot of private dinners here. We would clear out the store and we could serve up to 20 people. So folks liked it. We'd have a bouzouki player,
Nice.
So we made it fun. Sometimes they did some dancing, but and we're planning on doing that up at our restaurant now that we're in a good groove. So, yeah.
My husband's been to Greece. Like I said, he's from England, so it was much closer for him.
Sure.
And he hitchhiked there when he was in undergrad, when he was younger. He remembers sleeping on a beach.
Yeah.
I guess he could do that on one of the islands. But I have never been, so we've been wanting to go.
Oh,
so I'm going to have to get some tips from you about exactly where and what. And
the Greeks know they enjoy life. They're not as they might not have as much money in their bank account as Americans do, but they appreciate and enjoy life, and that's another reason why I love going to Greece. Is when you go there, like, life stands still a little bit. They have their issues, no doubt, like any country does, but the Greeks, they're hospitable. They love to share their story with you, and they're just kind people. And I'm proud of the culture that in the country that my parents came from. But I'm not just saying that because I'm in the Greek business. It's true. I always tell people the hardest thing about going to Greece is getting on a 10-hour flight from Pittsburgh. That's it. If you can muster that, you're golden, because things are very affordable in Greece. A lot of folks in Pittsburgh think that Greece is like a third world country, and it's not. I mean, it's, especially after the 2004 Olympics and getting into the EU, they really modernized a lot of their transportation systems, infrastructure. But a lot of ways they're more advanced than us. Like electronic payments and the infrastructure. Support definitely helped them, but. They just love life. I've never heard anyone, like on those food tours, people come in and we'll talk about us, we'll talk about the food, and I'll ask, hey, have you ever been to Greece? And, you probably get 2 or 3 people out of each group will say, yes, I've been there. And they're always like glowing, saying, oh man, we had a great time. It's a good overall package of, if you go in the summer, fun, sun, great food, and, great people. So and it's pretty safe too. So.
Well, our 30-year wedding anniversary is December 28th, and we don't have plans yet, which is shocking. For our 20th, we went to Ecuador, the Amazon rainforest, the Galapagos Islands. We did it up. We haven't made any plans for the 30th, so I'm thinking Greece.
Give you some pointers.
Yeah.
And like any European city or countries, I love before the holidays. Like I've been to Spain and France before Christmas. And I love the atmosphere. So
and New Year's. What's New Year's like in Greece? That's got.
I've never been. I've only been to Greece in the summer times, but I hear that it's really fun. So I look forward to maybe in retirement or when my kids get a little older, then we don't have to, because of school, go in the summers. I would love to go. Like Athens, I never really go during the summer because it's so hot. I've been there 3 or 4 times, but it's so hot in the summer. And the last thing I want to do in 95-degree heat is walk around in a big city. But when it's more mild temperatures as it is now, or throughout the spring, Athens is great. Athens has a great food scene, really nice restaurants, some traditional, some not, but that's from what everyone tells me, that lives there tells me that's when you need to go. So Athens, the Saloniki, who our company's named after, so they're very nice. So, but got to get there.
Well, you were talking about, my husband and I talk all the time about how certain, like when we were in Mexico, like people don't have a lot of money, but they're not poor. They have everything they need.
Yeah.
And food is a main part of that. And that's why in this country it's so difficult, because poor people equals not having enough food to eat for a quality lifestyle. Yeah. So
it doesn't make sense. It's not balanced, especially when you've been outside the United States. I 100% agree with you. I've traveled to a lot of countries, and you would, like Greeks, they eat at home, but they don't eat at home. They have their big meals in the afternoon, probably around 2, 3 o'clock. But, evenings, they're out and about, and they're very social people, more so than here in the United States, where that's why we all have huge kitchens here, is because we say that we're cooking inside, but everyone eats out a lot too. But in Greece, they're social. They go out, they have a cup of coffee, a small meal, but you would not know it. I mean, they don't have 10 pairs of jeans. They don't have 10 dress shirts, 5 suits, 20 pairs of shoes. They get by on a lot less, but it's not important to them. And I think that's the lesson that we're kind of talking about, is we're fortunate that the income levels in general are higher in the United States, but throughout the world might be lower, but they get by on a lot less and probably happier day to day. So that's one of the lessons that I learned from travel, and which I always encourage people, that get out, the United States is great. We, travel around here too, but you got to get outside and see how other people live, just so that you have that viewpoint of what's really necessary in life. So a lot of Pittsburghers think that like Ocean City, Maryland is like the epicenter of vacation, which is great. It's quick and easy, but just a little bit more effort, and I think you could experience a lot more.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about a 10-hour flight. I could probably do that.
Yeah. British Airways has a great from Pittsburgh to London. I don't know if it happens during the winter.
Yes, Pittsburgh to London, yeah.
Pittsburgh to London and London to Athens is pretty. We did that 2 years ago. It was really nice.
So what is next for your business? New exciting things coming up?
We just continue to expand on different fronts. Our online presence, we're trying to grow that, more and more every year. Continue to grow the restaurant, maybe possibly add a second location. We've talked about that. and possibly expanding our offering here at our retail store in Lawrenceville. We think there's some opportunity, obviously, because of the explosive growth in Lawrenceville and the Strip District. So maybe offer some additional, fresh baked goods. More of like a little bistro kind of things. We have lunch. We offer lunch, a Greek lunch on Fridays, but we may do an additional menu assortment, but also more times during the week.
Tell people where they can find you and find your food and find
Sure,
your products.
Definitely. Salonika Imports is located at 3509 Smallman Street. We're on the corner of Smallman and 35th, Lower Lawrenceville.
Blue building.
Blue building, can't miss it. It says Salonika Imports on the front. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Saturdays, 9 to 2, our retail store. Wholesale is open longer. And then we have a website, salonika.net. We ship nationwide, frozen, refrigerator, dry, anything in the store. We do wholesale, obviously, that's a big part of our business. And then separately, our restaurant, EVIA Greek, EVIA Greek, is located in Bellevue at 564 Lincoln Avenue, right in the heart of Bellevue. It's about, I think, technically 12 minutes from the city of Pittsburgh, right along the Ohio River, Route 65. Website there is eviagreek.com. And we also deliver via all the big Uber, Grubhub, and DoorDash. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Chris, for being on my podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon. Everyone knows that food is cool. No secret. Eat that food with a bowl and spoon.
With Bowl and Spoon is written, produced and hosted by Shelley Danko Day. Original theme song was written and performed by Paul LeBreeze and friends. You can listen to With Bowl and Spoon wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe, like, review and share. Follow us and send us questions or messages on Facebook and Instagram at With Bowl and Spoon. Thanks for listening.
And spoon.